Hello, mes amis! It's Wow, I Wish I Could Draw, back with another speed paint, because I have no video ideas at the moment. I just wanted to kind of put something out there so I could kind of talk to you guys, more than just like replying to comments. I'm recording this without a script. I was just planning on saying kind of whatever came to mind, also because I'm kind of too lazy to write a script. And it's also an excuse to test out this handy-dandy new mic that we got, because we're planning on recording our D&D sessions, so I could put that up on the channel, hopefully. We'd also like to do live streams at some point, hopefully, but we have to figure out the logistics of that, because the internet connection out here isn't too great. But before all that, we decided to record the sessions, at least the audio. Gosh knows my laptop can't handle all those crisp PNGs of us playing Dungeons & Dragons for 4 hours straight. We want to record the sessions so I kind of have something to put out there on my channel, and also to kind of just spread our campaign everywhere, like a virus of wholesomeness in Dungeons & Dragons. But we're having so much fun, and we kind of want to share that with the world. We're Diet Critical Role, I guess, without celebrities. By the way, sorry if this gets like a little repetitive or whatever. I didn't write a script for this. I was just planning on rambling for 16 minutes or however long this video is going to be. So at times I might struggle with things to talk about, I guess, but you're not here for that. You're here for drawing. I got a lot of comments asking if I could do drawing tutorials, and I would really like that. I would like to teach you guys how to draw if I knew how to teach. I'm kind of just winging it at this point. I never really had any formal art training or anything like that. I never took classes because I was kind of afraid that like an institutionalized learning space would kind of kill my passion for art. I just wanted to draw what I wanted to draw, which middle school me was like, hey, owls are pretty cool, I want to draw that, and nothing else. And I didn't start drawing people until high school, and that was kind of a problem. Now I kind of wish I had taken more drawing classes, or just had someone teach me anything. I'm kind of disappointed that I was self-taught because I tend to have problems with anatomy or facial structure, just really basic structural problems that probably wouldn't be an issue if I had a better foundation of art. But here I am on YouTube, I guess. And apparently people like my art, and you think I'm good, and I'm really flattered about that. You guys are helping me through me insecurities. That's probably enough about that topic. So moving on, how about I talk about what the video is actually about, which is Bazthar and his new lizard friends. So you might know that Bazthar is one of my D&D characters. He's a lizard folk warlock with an infernal patron, Pact of the Tome, yeah, that's what it's called. And the specific campaign that it's for isn't too serious all the time. There's a big emphasis on comedy as opposed to big adventures and big stories, which can be fun. It's kind of a nice break from Tales from Eurosa, where there are funny moments, but it is a very big dramatic story. So I really enjoy both campaigns, but focusing on Bazthar for a second. It was established really quickly that Bazthar is a very cowardly character, because when there was any sign of danger, he would hide behind one of the bigger members of the party, or just call his patron through his ether stone. His patron's name is Tenegar, by the way. He's like a fire salamander that lives in the middle of a mountain. He has fire magic, obviously, but also teleportation. And part of Bazthar's tasks is to kind of just do what his patron tells him to do, which is mainly clearing out the mines that are being placed in Tenegar's mountain. And one of the reasons I'm bringing Tenegar up, well, obviously I've got to talk about Bazthar's patron, but there's a running joke that he's my demon patron, yes, but he's also kind of like my dad. There was an instance where we had an adventure in a farm, and we looked underneath the farm, and there was this strange mystical shrine that none of us had ever seen before, and there were these lava rocks, and there was this really strange oxidized orange stone in the middle of a pool of lava. And so our Goliath barbarian jumped right into the stone and was teleported into this kind of limbo state, almost, where it's almost a space between worlds. And that ends up being what my patron uses to kind of teleport things around, mainly teleporting dwarves in the mines into kind of his jaws to consume. But anyways, one by one, the party members also jumped into the rock because either Brock was alive or he wasn't alive, and Bazthar stayed behind because he's a coward and he didn't want to potentially die. He had no knowledge about the stone being what his patron uses. And so It had been like 15 minutes or so, and the entire party was gone, and Bazthar was just by himself, when these 6 skeletons appeared around the corner, and I freaked the fuck out. I fired off 1 Eldritch Blast, and then I just jumped straight into the stone, fully thinking that the skeletons were gonna follow me, and thinking that, oh shit, this might be where I die. And so I channeled my patron through my ether stone, and was like, Dad, can you come pick me up? And he did pick me up. My dad picked me up from peril. He teleported me from the strange ethereal plane right into his mountain lair, and I was just kind of like groveling at his feet, and he looked at me really, really disappointed, like, Bazthar, why did you make me teleport you here? What's the big fuss? And I should probably note that, up to this point, I had kind of been stress-eating spider legs, because before we went to the basement of the farm, we were dealing with some giant spiders, because the place had been abandoned for years. And so we were fighting the spiders, and we noticed that there was a nest that the spiders were coming out of. So our Goliath barbarian Brock picked me up and yeeted me right into the spider's nest. And I decided to use burning hands, and everything died. Literally everything in the spider nest caught on fire. The spider webs, the spiders. And so I went around with my little lizard hands and collected all of their legs as snacks for later. And so I scrambled out of the spider nest, and that was when we all went down into the farm basement. We found the shrine. Long story short, I was teleported to my dad's lair. I was groveling at his feet. He was disappointed in me. I had been scared for my life, and so I vomited up all of the spider legs that I had been eating before. Another little thing about Bazthar, we've decided canonically that if you step on his tail, or just generally apply too much pressure to it, his neck frill will just puff up, kind of like a bearded dragon's will, and it's really disgusting and really, really funny. So after I had vomited up my spider legs, I was sobbing and sobbing at my demon patron, like, please don't be embarrassed in me, and my frill just puffed up. And that was kind of my saving grace, because I was really funny, apparently, and if nothing else, I'm a really good clown to the demon Tenegar who lives in the mountains and eats dwarves. So he teleported me out, and he teleported all of my friends out of the ether zone, and then we fought some spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. And that was that specific Bazthar-centric adventure, I suppose. We got a lot of experience from learning about the world, kind of what the farm had to do with the strange rocks and the ether zone and my demon patron, but no one cares about that. Everyone cares about the wacky hijinks that this really disgusting garbage lizard gets into. And boy howdy, do I get into a lot of hijinks. Long story short, after that specific adventure, we were kind of commissioned by the leader of this really nice, cool country that's got, like, democracy and all that fun stuff to kind of just, sabotage a neighboring country who's really shitty and has slaves, and okay, but we got paid a lot of money. We got into the country. It's named Taytai, by the way. And how did we get paid, you might ask? Well, one of the assistants of the royalty was another follower of Tenegar, and so he sent me the funds through Tenegar. My dad is an ATM. He's also really a deus ex machina for anything that needs to happen. There was a few chaotic sessions where not everyone could make it, so there were separate storylines and everyone was kind of scattered in different places. So we decided it would be acceptable for Tenegar just to kind of teleport everyone together to a place called Belbond, where there's the mountain, and I need to fix all of its problems. So we had our fun, cool adventure in Belbond, and then we immediately went back to Taytai to fix the problems that we established were there. We were kind of assisting this freedom fighter group who wanted to overthrow the Drow monarchy, or whatever, it's a queendom, there's a queen. Anyways, one of our plans was to infiltrate the castle and sabotage this really important dinner that everyone was having with this diplomat from across the sea. They wanted to build more things in Taytai, and we decided this was the perfect opportunity to ruin everything. So anyways, our two halflings snuck into the castle posing as kitchen staff, because it was a very, very important dinner. They needed as much help as they could get, and I snuck in with a tiefling pretending to be performers. I was going to do magic tricks with prestidigitation and minor illusion, and it wasn't really going too great with a crowd of nobles and royalty or whatever. And so our tiefling, seeing that I was really bombing this magic show, came up and we started telling jokes about seagulls. Why seagulls of all things? Because our campaign has a rather bird-heavy motif. Everywhere we go, there are birds. Either we befriend them or I eat them alive. That's just being a lizard folk. And so, with my seagull-eating expertise, we were able to craft some real zingers that the nobility just really ate up, because we got much better performance checks telling jokes about seagulls than me doing actual magic right in front of their eyes. Everything was looking really, really good, and after our performance, I was actually offered to return the next morning to tell more of my seagull jokes, because everyone had enjoyed them so much. Anyways, while all this was happening, our halflings had succeeded in poisoning the flour for the dessert that evening. They brought it all out, and they were about to serve the guests when the court mage cast, I think it's Purify Food and Drink, on all of the food, and we thought, gosh dang it, our poisoning scheme has failed, whatever are we going to do? We didn't really have a backup plan, but we didn't need to, because I was kind of ushered away into the servants' quarters where I was going to spend the night, because I was going to come back and perform next morning. And then they moved the discussions with the diplomat upstairs, and she really, really didn't want to. She insisted on staying on the ground floor, and no one really understood why, but they were eventually able to persuade her to come up to the first floor and have the discussions in this really fancy room. Our halfling monk returned to the kitchen to get as much cooking oil as he could. Meanwhile, our halfling sorcerer snuck upstairs with everyone else and proceeded to mage hand shake the diplomat's chair to try to freak her out as much as possible. And it worked! The diplomat and her dwarven guard went out onto the balcony to kind of get some air, while our halfling monk dumped all of the cooking oil right onto them and then dropped a match! At that very moment, I had been hurried in by one of the officials to kind of entertain everyone while all this chaos was happening. And so I walked through the door and everything is on fire. I, being the fire-loving lizard that I am, decide that this is as good a time as any to make more fire. And so I proceeded to use burning hands on everyone I could in range. To be fair, I did confer with the other party members, and we decided that we were going to shift our strategy from just messing with the diplomat and trying to get her to leave to full-on murdering everyone in the room. And we very quickly learned that that was the worst thing we could have done. We were hopelessly outnumbered by guards and the officials, and also the wizard who had purified the food and drink earlier. She used slow on me and the monk who was trying to run away, and so I couldn't possibly hope to outdamage everyone. Our sorcerer tried to run away, but he was within range of a guard who had an attack of opportunity, and then he was one-shotted and knocked unconscious. Our monk was able to make it to the doorway, pick up our sorcerer, and attempt to run away. I decided that this situation was hopeless and that I should escape with my life if I could. And so I called my dad, and I asked him to pick me up, and he did, only because I got a nat 20 on him picking up the phone. I was teleported out of the castle to live another day. Meanwhile, our sorcerer and our monk were captured and put in the dungeon, and there was a big scene where they attempted to escape, but the castle was just crushing down on the dungeon. It was falling apart, and our monk was able to make it out alive. Unfortunately, our sorcerer was lost. I had found some bar, and I was eating my worries away when I felt Teneger trying to contact me through the Etherstone. He was saying, "How dare you use my power when you've been neglecting your duties?" I did the standard grovel check to hopefully have him take mercy on me, because I am terribly incompetent and I had no excuse for using his magic when I really hadn't been doing my chores. He didn't really listen, and he threatened to take my magic away if I didn't go to his mountain right now and fix his problems. And so that kind of kicked off where we are in the campaign. Last session, we went back to Belbond, went back to the mountain, and we tried to get my magic back. I had somehow convinced everyone that I wasn't a warlock, I was actually a druid, and the mountain was what gave me my magic, and it was under attack from some implicitly evil force, and the mountain, being implicitly good, needed defending. So that's where we kind of left off. There's not a whole lot left to say about Bazthar, but that's good because I'm running out of time anyways, so I might as well explain who the 3 other characters are that I haven't introduced at all. Well, I'll tell you, my friends. Some of the other Tales from Eurosa party members, they know all about Bazthar and that certain campaign, even though they aren't members. They really love Bazthar because he's great, even though he's terrible, and they thought it would be really, really funny if they made lizard folk warlocks, but with different patrons, different packs, different spells. And they're absolutely right, it's objectively hilarious. And so, here are more characters. We've got Fukaar, Aesoul, and Blitch. You might notice a pattern with the naming convention. We don't really have a goal for these characters. I'm gonna talk with my DM about maybe introducing them for a one-shot, having them be Bazthar's friends from when he was younger or whatever. But yeah, that's just about all the time I have. I think I touched on all the things I really wanted to talk about, so I think I'll just use the remaining time to kind of talk about what I think I'm gonna do next for my channel or videos. I really want to make something Calamite-centric, possibly another serious animatic like I did for Worthless Child, because I really enjoy that video, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it too. So to wrap up, the Tales from Eurosa group meets on Wednesdays, and I might do some tinkering with the audio, maybe add some visuals to it. I'm not sure when I'll upload it, but the point is that it will be uploaded on the channel at some point, and I'm really looking forward to you guys just hearing what our session is like. Alright, thank you for listening. Goodbye.